ಕುಂದೇಂದು ತುಷಾರಹಾರ ಧವಳ ಯಾ ಶುಭ್ರವಸ್ತ್ರಾವೃತ ಯಾ ವೀಣಾವರದಂಡ ಮಂಡಿತಕರ ಯಾ ಶ್ವೇತ ಪದ್ಮಾಸನ ಯಾ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಾಚ್ಯುತ ಶಂಕರ ಪ್ರಭೃತಿಭಿರ್ದೇವೈಃ ಸದಾ ವಂದಿತಾ ಸಾ ಮಾಂ ಪಾತು ಸರಸ್ವತಿ ಭಗವತಿ ನಿಶೇಷಜಾಡ್ಯಾಪಃ.
The Aitareya Brahmana, a commentary on the Rig Veda, datable to at least 800 years before Christ, reveals the Andhras, a Dravidian people, dwelling at the daybreak of recorded Indian history beyond the pale of Aryan settlements. According to Pliny, the Roman encyclopedist, who doubtless drew upon Megasthenes, the Greek ambassador at the court of Chandragupta Maurya, the Andhras had emerged next to the Kalingas near the eastern seacoast in the basins of the Godavari and Krishna rivers as a powerful race with 30 towns defended by walls and towers besides numerous villages. They commanded an army of 100,000 infantry, 2,000 cavalry and 1,000 elephants, surpassed only in power and glory by the nations of Pataliputra. Ashoka's 13th rock edict, 256 BC, lists among the peoples in the dominions of the emperor, conforming to his instructions in the Dharma, the Andhras. About 230 BC, the Shatavahanas, called Andhra Bhrityas, Andhra's servants in the Puranas, in a manifest reference to their employment in the service of the Mauryan overlords, rose to ascendancy, becoming masters at the zenith of their power of extensive dominions, stretching from Pataliputra across the tableland of the Deccan, spanning the seas. The Satavahanas loomed over the stage of Indian history, ruling for a total of 456 years. Buddhism flourished supreme under their aegis. They erected numerous establishments of exemplary splendor across their dominions from coast to coast, from Sanchi down the ages, attracting pilgrims thronging from several countries overseas. The fine arts of sculpture and painting became the torch-bearers of Buddhism. At the mouth of the river Krishna, Amaravati, the international beacon of Buddhism of its time, was the terminus quo for the dissemination of the faith in the kingdoms of Southeast Asia. The Andhras were launched upon great maritime enterprises in the reigns of Pulomavi II, 28, and Yajñasri, 29, commemorated by ship-marked coins recovered on the Coromandel coast. The colonists brought with them their own culture, religion, and images for worship, products of a higher civilization. From Pong Tuk in the province of Ratburi in Thailand have come up a copy from Alluru in the Krishna Valley of a Greco-Roman lamp of the 1st century. A contemporaneous bronze statuette of the Buddha, unmistakably of the Amaravati school, matched by similar statues more finely executed from Korat and Nakhon Pathon, Pong Tuk was the situs of an early colony of Andhra traders which flourished from the 1st century to the 6th. In the Indonesian archipelago, Buddha images of Amaravati vintage are legion. A bronze from South Jember, eastern Java. Another, larger and more beautiful, found at Sikandeng in Celebes. A third from Kota Bangun in Borneo. A colossal stone Buddha and a bronze Buddha of the type called Dipankara from Palembang in Sumatra, a center of Buddhist learning, and one-time capital of the kingdom of Srivijaya. But the pièce de résistance of the Amaravati-influenced bronzes from Southeast Asia is the Buddha from Dongdong in Annam of the 3rd century. Sinhalese ascetics were in residence at Nagarjunakonda in a monastery devoted to their use. The paintings of the celestial females of the Sigiriya fortress are manifestly derived from the nubile damsels of the Amaravati reliefs and the Andhra frescoes at Ajanta in their heavy-lidded eyes and sensual full lips. The first, yet the supreme contribution of the Satavahana monarchs are the sumptuously carved gateways, Toranas, of the great stupa at Sanchi, 28 miles from Bhopal, on the south, north, east and west in chronological order, and the slightly later gateway of Stupa 3. On the southern Torana of the great stupa, the first to be erected in the 1st century BC, is an inscription registering the gift of its middle architrave by Vasishtiputra Ananda, foreman Avesani of the artisans of Satakarni II. The 4 gateways display in their order of erection of the more important reliefs. South Gateway, grief-stricken Ashoka. Worship of Gautama's headdress. The Shadanta Jataka. Dharma Chakra on a pillar. And Mara's cortege. North Gateway, Shalabhanjika, the Jetavana, a royal procession, and a monkey offering honey to the Buddha. East Gateway, Shalabhanjika, Maya's dream, the Buddha's visit to Kapilavastu, the miracle of the serpent, the Buddha walking on the river Niranjana, West Gateway, the transportation of the relics of the Buddha. The Yaksha, the enlightenment and the temptation of Mara. Stupa 3, although of smaller proportions, standing only to a height of 27 feet, 150 feet northwest of the Great Stupa, was clearly modelled after it, except for the 1 instead of 4 and slightly later gateway, a Satavahana supplement. Worship of the Dharma Chakra on a pillar, and the worship of the Bodhi tree. Sanchi Museum, lion capital on Ashoka pillar, and a Yakshi. 1 mile south of Malavli station on the Mumbai-Pune railway, the 22 rock-cut Hinayana excavations at Bhaja, supposedly built for nuns, are picturesquely situated overlooking the valley of the river Indrayani. The monuments straddling the Sunga and Satavahana periods are ascribed to the 2nd century BC. The cathedral was the earliest of its type to be hewn, sheer from the living rock, in close imitation of a prototype in timber. The huge stupa in the apse of a cylindrical drum with a hemispherical dome ringed by a double railing at the top is itself rock cut. Cave 18 is notable for its famous sculptured compositions on either side of the door of the veranda. The rock-cut caves of Pitalkhora, set panoramically in a formidable wild ravine, cut by a mountain torrent plunging down a precipice, are 27 miles northwest of Ellora. Cave 3 is a Chaityagriha established on a high stylobate and is approached from the court by 2 flights of steps, whose side faces are adorned by 2 mirthful, stunted yakshas portrayed to hold up the structure with a winged horse springing from its hind legs. Cave 4, magnificent of viharas anywhere, is seemingly supported by 9 massive but mutilated charging elephants in a line. From the debris of this sanctuary was salvaged a rewarding assortment of sculptures, which once adorned the lofty facade of the monastery, now distributed between the National Museum, New Delhi, and the Prince of Wales Museum, Mumbai. The world-renowned caves of Ajanta were hewn in the picturesque crescent of a very nearly vertical scarp of a rock in a lonely glen in the wild Indyadri hills, skirted by an idyllic stream which descends in 7 waterfalls of great scenic splendor, some 60 miles north of Aurangabad. The 30 compact sanctuaries cover a millennium, from the 2nd century BC, in an unparalleled coalescence of superb architecture, sculpture and painting of Satavahana times, caves 10 and 9. Cave 10, the largest of the group, is ascribed to the beginning of the 2nd century BC by the paleography of its 3 short inscriptions. The elaborate stupa in the apse is 2-tiered at its base, with a developed elongated drum. Importantly, the consummate paintings of this cave, notably of the Shadadanta Jataka on the pillars and on the side wall on the right, were contemporaneous with the reliefs of Sanchi on its southern gateway, in a striking resemblance of the costumes, headdresses, and ornaments depicted there. On the left wall of this cave is the earliest painting of the 2nd century BC at Ajanta, of an orchestrated group of 15 graceful women, dancers and musicians performing under the Bodhi tree, striking graceful postures and steps, presaging consummated dance forms. Cave 9, dating from the 1st century BC, the oldest of the group, is formulated differently. A spherical stupa on a cylindrical drum is centered at the apse and crowned by a railing and a harmika. Of the 24 caves at Pandu, Pandavalena, excavated longitudinally on the Trirashmi hill, 5 miles off Nasik, caves 3 and 18 are of Satavahana times. The caves are, incidentally, lithic registers of invaluable epigraphs of the Satavahana monarchs. Cave 3 is a gift of Gautami Balasri, mother of the most illustrious Satavahana monarch, Gautami Putra Satakarni, 62 to 86. The vihara takes its name from him. 2 inscriptions recorded on the back of the vestibule, one of his reign and the other of his successor, Vasishtiputra Pulomavi II, 86 to 114, contain the celebrated panegyric of his father in 11 long lines. The frame of the central door, flanked by Dwarapalas, is fashioned in the likeness of a Torana as at Sanchi. Cave 18, the Chaityagriha, is dated about the middle of the 1st century BC. Its superbly executed two-storied frontage is corresponded by the Chaitya halls on the Manmodi hill at Junnar, and the entrance is identical in the ornamentation of its left jamb with that of the pillars of the northern gateway at Sanchi. The Chaitya is divided by 2 rows of octagonal pillars into a nave and 2 aisles. At the end of the nave, the stupa is encircled by 5 more columns. The magnificent culmination of the rock-cut Chaityagriha was attained at Karle, ancient Valuraka, 3 miles to the north of Malavli station on the Mumbai-Pune railway. At a height of 360 feet, the Chaitya Hall is verily the most excellent rock mansion in Jambudvipa, the largest, the most complete, and the most impressive anywhere. The front of the cathedral makes an imposing ensemble of the lofty horseshoe arch with its recessed sun window, the decorative arcading of the reliefs of many-tiered Chaitya arches. 6 full-blooded pairs of majestic men and women of the most spirited vitality. The dancers are in pairs of male and female figures, aborigines from their costumes and ornaments. The lofty Chaitya Hall, planned like a basilica, is a triumph of the harmonious patterning of its colonnade, vaulting, and the great arch. The colonnade is made of 15 closely set perpendicular pillars on each side of the cave, designed like the freestanding lion pillars on the frontage, embellished with exquisitely sculptured statuary of 2 pairs of addorsed animals, elephants, and on their reverse, horses, ridden by a pair of man and woman. In the face of a single hill, one great rounded mass of solid rock in the island of Salsette at Kanheri, after the Satavahana monarch Krishna or Kanha, 248 to 230 BC, some 16 miles north of Bombay, are 109 Buddhist rock retreats. The vast Chaityagriha, Cave 3, was begun by 2 brothers, the merchants Gajasena and Gajamitra, in the reign of Yajna-Sri Satakarni, 128 to 157. In the forecourt are lion pillars, simhastambhas, on either side. Beyond the pillars is a frontage of a rock screen opened by 3 tall doors. In the rectangular recesses between the doors are sculptured vigorous couples in 2 groups.